The marriage hall smelled of old wood and shame, and Fenna Greaves stood in the center of it while a pinch-faced human woman told her that her groom had found someone better. The contract specified a bride of good health and character, the woman said, her voice sharp as glass. It said nothing about accepting a greenskin into our family permanently. My son has chosen a more suitable match. Fenna's hands were steady at her sides. She had braided her black hair that morning with her mother's silver cords woven through it. She had worn her best dress, dark blue wool that her sister had embroidered at the cuffs. She had traveled 9 days by wagon and another 3 on foot to reach this frontier settlement at the edge of the Keithran Mountains. Her family had signed the contract 6 months ago. Her father had paid the broker's fee and the travel bond. The contract was witnessed and sealed, Fenna said quietly. Her tusks made certain sounds difficult, but she had practiced common speech her whole life. My family honored every term. Your family is not here to dispute it. The woman, who had introduced herself as Margaret Parrish, lifted her chin. And my son Dominic has made his choice. We will return half the bride price as a courtesy. You will leave tomorrow at dawn. The hall was not empty. A handful of people stood along the walls watching. Fenna could see the curiosity in their faces, the satisfaction in some. One woman whispered to another behind her hand. An older man shook his head slowly but said nothing. She wanted to ask where Dominic Parrish was, the man she had traveled all this way to marry. She wanted to demand he face her himself, instead of sending his mother to deliver the humiliation. But she could feel the weight of every gaze on her green skin, her pointed ears, the small tusks that marked her as something less than human in their eyes. I understand, she said instead, and hated how small her voice sounded. Good. I will have the return fare calculated by evening. You may wait in the traveler's barn until— No. The word cut through the room like a blade. Fenna turned toward the voice. A man stepped away from the far wall. He was tall, perhaps 6 feet, with brown hair that touched his collar and a weathered face that spoke of outdoor work. He wore simple clothes, a work shirt and sturdy trousers, but he carried himself with quiet authority. Vincent, Margaret said, and there was warning in her tone. This does not concern you. It concerns our family's honor, Mother, so it concerns me. He walked forward until he stood a few paces from Fenna. His eyes were gray, steady, and clear. Miss Greaves traveled 9 days on a contract our family signed. Dominic agreed to the terms. Father witnessed it. Your father is dead, Margaret said coldly, and Dominic is head of this family now. He has made his decision. Then the contract is broken. Vincent looked at Fenna, not his mother, which means she is free of any obligation to us. That is what I have been explaining, Vincent. She will be compensated and she is free to make her own choices. He did not raise his voice, but something in it made the room go quiet. If the contract is void, then she is not promised to anyone, not bound to anyone. She can choose what happens next. Fenna stared at him. She did not understand where he was going with this. Vincent took a breath. Miss Greaves, my name is Vincent Parrish. I am Dominic's younger brother. I own a farmstead 8 miles south of here in the Whiteridge Valley. It is small but productive. I have no wife and no contract with anyone. He paused, and for the first time something uncertain flickered across his face. If you are free to choose, then I would ask you to consider choosing me. Not now, not today, but I would like the chance to court you properly if you will allow it. The room erupted. Margaret's voice rose sharp and furious. Someone gasped. Another voice muttered something about disgrace. Fenna could not hear any of it clearly. Her heart was beating too loud in her ears. You cannot be serious, Margaret hissed. Vincent, you will not. I am serious. He still looked at Fenna. You do not have to answer now. You do not have to answer at all. If you want to go home, I will personally ensure you get there safely and with full compensation for the insult you have received. But if you are willing, I would like the chance to know you, to let you know me. And then you can decide. Fenna's throat felt tight. Why? Because you deserve better than this. His gesture took in the hall his mother, the whispering onlookers. Because I know what it is to be the second choice in this family. The one who is overlooked when someone more convenient comes along. And because, from what I have heard of the Greaves family, they are honest farmers who honor their word. That speaks well of anyone raised among them. She wanted to say something clever or composed. Instead she said, I do not know you. No, you do not. That is why I am asking for time, not a wedding. A faint smile touched his mouth. I am a decent cook. I grow wheat and barley, and I have an apple orchard that produces well. I am not rich, but I am not poor. I do not drink to excess, and I have never raised my hand to anyone who did not deserve it. My friends would tell you I am stubborn and too quiet, but loyal. I can provide those friends as references if you like. Despite everything, Fenna felt something catch in her chest that might have been a laugh. You are giving me references. I am trying to court you. I have never done this before. I am likely doing it badly. Margaret stepped between them. This is absurd. Vincent, you will stop this nonsense immediately. Miss Greaves, you will. I will stay, Fenna said. The words came out stronger than she expected. For a while, to see. Vincent's smile widened just a fraction. Thank you. You will both regret this, Margaret said icily. Dominic will not stand for it. The community will not accept it. Dominic made his choice. I am making mine. Vincent finally looked at his mother, and his expression was perfectly calm. And if the community has an issue with an honorable courtship between two free people, they can take it up with me directly. He offered his arm to Fenna. She stared at it for a moment, this strange human man who had just upended everything in the space of minutes. Then she placed her hand on his sleeve. They walked out of the marriage hall together while the whispers rose like a storm behind them. Vincent's farmhouse was small and tidy, built of solid timber with a stone foundation. The fields around it were well tended, the rows straight and the irrigation channels clean. Fenna could see an orchard in the distance, the trees heavy with late-season apples. The house has 2 bedrooms, Vincent said as they approached. He had driven them in a sturdy wagon, and the ride had been mostly silent, both of them seeming uncertain how to begin. You can take the larger one. I will sleep in the other, or in the barn if you prefer. I am not going to make you sleep in a barn, Fenna said. I have done it before. It is not a hardship. I believe you, but it is not necessary. She climbed down from the wagon, not waiting for him to help her. Her legs were stiff from sitting. You said you wanted to court me properly. What does that mean? He lifted her travel bag from the wagon bed. It means I would like to spend time with you, talk with you, learn what you like and what you do not like, show you my home and my work, and give you the chance to decide if you could be happy here. And if I decide I could not be, then I will take you home myself, with enough money to compensate your family for the broken contract and the insult they received. You have my word. Fenna studied him. In the afternoon light, his face looked tired. There were lines around his eyes that spoke of years spent squinting at sun and weather. Why are you doing this? I told you. No, tell me the real reason. He set her bag down carefully. My father built this family's reputation on fair dealing. He believed a man's word was worth more than gold. When he died 2 years ago, Dominic inherited the estate and mother's influence. Together they have been reshaping our business in ways I do not agree with, breaking contracts when more profitable opportunities appear, cutting corners, justifying it as practical. He met her eyes. When I heard Dominic was bringing in a bride through contract, I thought perhaps he was turning back toward father's principles. Then this morning I learned he had decided to break that contract for a merchant's daughter with a larger dowry. So this is about principle. Partly. He paused. But mostly it is about the look on your face when my mother dismissed you like you were nothing. I have worn that look, and I decided I would not stand by and watch it happen to someone else when I had the means to offer an alternative. Fenna felt something shift in her chest. You risked your family's anger for a stranger. I risked my family's anger for what was right. The fact that you are a stranger is something I hope to remedy. He picked up her bag again. Let me show you the house. Then I will start dinner. I promised you I was a decent cook. I should prove it before you change your mind. The bedroom was simple but clean. A bed with a thick quilt, a wardrobe, a small table and chair by the window. The window looked out over the orchard. My mother made that quilt, Vincent said from the doorway. My real mother, not Margaret. She died when I was 12. She would have liked you, I think. You do not know that. She did not judge people by their skin or their tusks. She judged them by their actions and their hearts. He smiled faintly. And you chose to stay and take a chance rather than leaving in anger. That would have impressed her. He left her to settle in. Fenna sat on the edge of the bed and pressed her hands to her face. The day felt impossible. This morning she had been a bride traveling to meet her contracted husband. Now she was in a stranger's home, a human man's home, and he was making her dinner and talking about courtship. She should have been terrified, or furious, or at the very least cautious. Instead, she felt something dangerous. She felt curious. Dinner was venison stew with root vegetables and fresh bread. Vincent had not lied about his cooking. The stew was rich and well seasoned, the bread still warm from the oven. How long have you lived here alone? Fenna asked. 3 years. I left the family estate after an argument with Dominic about hiring practices. He wanted to pay workers less and work them harder. I disagreed, so I took my inheritance early and bought this land. He broke off a piece of bread. It has been quiet, peaceful, lonely sometimes, but peaceful. Do you have friends nearby? A few. There is a man named Thomas who farms the next valley over. His wife Sarah brings me preserves sometimes, and I trade them apples. Old man Garrett lives about 5 miles east. He was a soldier once and now he raises sheep. We play chess on Sunday evenings when the weather permits. Fenna ate slowly. What will they think of me? Thomas will be curious and polite. Sarah will probably bring you preserves as a welcome gift. Garrett will ask if you know how to play chess, and if you do not, he will offer to teach you. Vincent's expression was serious. They are good people. They will judge you by who you are, not what you are. That is a comforting fiction. It is the truth. I would not lie to you about this. She wanted to believe him. What about your family, Dominic and Margaret? They will be angry. Margaret will see it as a betrayal. Dominic will see it as an embarrassment. He set down his spoon. They may try to cause trouble. I will not lie to you about that either, but they have no legal standing. The contract is broken. You are free, and I will stand between you and any harm they attempt. You do not know me well enough to make that promise. I know you well enough to know it is the right thing to do. His gray eyes were steady, and I keep my promises. They cleaned up together after dinner. Vincent washed and Fenna dried, learning the layout of his kitchen as they worked. It felt strange and domestic and oddly comfortable. What should I call you? She asked as she put away the last plate. Vincent, or Vince if you prefer. What should I call you? Fenna is fine. Fenna. He said it carefully, getting the shape of it right. It is a good name. It means wanderer in the old Orc tongue. My mother thought it was appropriate because I never stayed still as a child. You still wander. I thought I was done wandering. I thought I was coming here to settle. She folded the drying cloth. Now I am not sure what I am doing. You are taking time to decide what you want. That is not wandering. That is choosing your own path. She looked at him. You are very certain about things. I am certain about very few things, but I am certain that you deserve a choice. And I am certain that I would like the chance to be one of your options. The first week passed quietly. Vincent worked his fields and Fenna explored the farmstead. She found the work rhythms easy to understand. Farming was farming, whether you were orc or human, and Vincent ran his land with the same practical efficiency her father would have approved of. He did not press her. He made breakfast each morning and they ate together, talking about small things. The weather, the apple harvest coming due, the fox that kept trying to get into the chicken coop. He asked about her family and listened carefully when she spoke of her parents, her two sisters, her younger brother. Do they know what happened? He asked. I sent a letter yesterday. It will reach them in a few weeks. Fenna poured more tea. I told them the contract was broken but that I was safe and considering my options. Will they be angry with me? They will be angry with your family for breaking the contract. You they will reserve judgment on until they meet you. That seems fair. On the 8th day, Sarah arrived with preserves as Vincent had predicted. She was a round-faced woman with kind eyes and a smile that seemed genuine. I heard we had a new neighbor, she said, handing Fenna 3 jars of strawberry preserves. Welcome to Whiteridge Valley. I hope Vincent is treating you well. He is, Fenna said carefully. Good. He is a good man, but he lives too much in his own head, needs someone to shake him out of it now and then. She winked. If he gets too broody, send him over to help Thomas mend fences. Nothing cures brooding like manual labor. Fenna found herself smiling. I will remember that. Sarah stayed for tea and talked easily about the valley, the neighbors, the upcoming harvest festival. She did not ask invasive questions. She did not stare at Fenna's tusks or make comments about her skin. She simply treated her like a person. After she left, Vincent asked, What do you think? I think she is kind. She is. They both are. He hesitated. There will be others who are not. You should know that. I know that already. I have lived my whole life knowing that. I know. I just want you to be prepared, Vincent. She waited until he looked at her. I am not fragile. I do not need you to protect me from every hard truth or unkind word. I know that too, but I want to anyway. Something warm unfurled in Fenna's chest. Why? Because you matter to me. You have mattered since that day in the hall, and you matter more each day I know you. He looked away, a faint color rising in his cheeks. I am probably saying too much too soon, but you asked why. No. Her voice came out softer than she intended. You are not saying too much. The trouble came on the 15th day. Fenna was in the orchard picking apples when she heard horses. 3 riders came up the lane at a trot. She recognized Dominic immediately. He had his father's build, broad-shouldered and tall, but his face had a petulant set to it that Vincent's lacked. Margaret was with him, riding side saddle in a fine dress. The 3rd rider was a young woman Fenna did not know, blonde and beautiful and human. Vincent came out of the barn, saw them, and his expression went carefully neutral. Dominic, mother, Miss Hartwell. Vincent. Dominic dismounted. We need to talk, then talk. Not out here. This is a private family matter. Fenna is part of this. She stays. Dominic's jaw tightened. Fine. I will be blunt. This farce has gone on long enough. You have made your point. Now send the orc back to her people and stop embarrassing this family. Fenna is not going anywhere unless she chooses to, and the only embarrassment to this family is you breaking a contract you swore to honor. I made a better match. You made a selfish choice. There is a difference. Vincent's voice was level but hard. And you have no authority here. This is my land. Fenna is my guest. You are trespassing. Margaret spoke up. Vincent, be reasonable. People are talking. They are saying terrible things about our family, about your judgment. This association with a greenskin is damaging your reputation and ours. My reputation will survive. So will yours if you stop trying to control something that is none of your business. You are my son. I am a grown man with my own land and my own life. You do not get to dictate my choices anymore. He looked at Dominic. Either of you. The young woman, Miss Hartwell, leaned down from her saddle. I am very sorry for the trouble, she said quietly. I did not know about the contract when Dominic proposed. If I had known, I would never have accepted. It is not your fault, Vincent said, his tone gentling. You did nothing wrong. Dominic shot her an irritated look. Catherine, stay out of this. No, Catherine Hartwell straightened. I will not stay out of it. You lied to me, Dominic. You said there was no prior arrangement. You said the orc woman was a misunderstanding. Now I find out you broke a contract and humiliated someone to pursue me. Her voice shook slightly. I will not marry a man who conducts himself that way. Consider our engagement ended. She turned her horse and rode away at a canter. Dominic stared after her, his face flushing dark red. Now look what you have done. I have done nothing, Vincent said. You did this. You broke a contract, insulted a good family, and lied to the woman you claimed to want. These are the consequences. You sanctimonious. Dominic took a step forward. Vincent did not move. If you touch me, I will defend myself. And then I will take this matter before the Valley Magistrate and file a formal grievance for the broken contract. Do you really want this to become a legal matter? Margaret put a hand on Dominic's arm. Let us go. This is beneath us. Beneath you. Fenna spoke for the first time, stepping out from the orchard. All three of them turned to look at her. Your son gave his word, signed a contract, took my family's money in trust. Then he cast me aside like garbage because something prettier came along, and you think addressing that is beneath you. You dare, Margaret began. She dares because she has the right, Vincent said quietly. Now leave, you are not welcome here. Dominic mounted his horse. This is not over. Yes, it is. You just do not want to admit it. They rode away, Dominic rigid with fury, Margaret's face a mask of cold anger. Vincent watched them go. Then he turned to Fenna. Are you all right? I am fine. Better than fine. She felt shaky but also strangely exhilarated. Did that really just happen? It did. And Miss Hartwell surprised me. I did not expect her to break the engagement. She has more honor than he does. That is a low bar, but still. Vincent laughed, a real laugh that seemed to surprise him. You are right. I usually am. Fenna looked at him, this man who had stood against his family twice now for her sake. Thank you. You do not have to thank me. Yes, I do. Not everyone would have done what you did. She hesitated. Vincent, I need to tell you something. All right. I am starting to care for you. More than I expected, more than I thought I could after what happened with the contract. The words felt clumsy but necessary. I do not know if that is what you wanted to hear, but I thought you should know. His face transformed. The careful neutrality dropped away, and what remained was open and hopeful and happy. That is exactly what I wanted to hear, more than I hoped for. Good. She smiled, feeling her tusks catch on her lip the way they always did. Because I think I would like to stay, if the offer is still open. It is. It always will be. They stood in the orchard with the afternoon sun slanting through the apple trees, and Fenna felt something settle in her chest that she had not even realized was unsettled. Not quite home yet, but the beginning of it. The harvest festival came 3 weeks later. Vincent asked if Fenna wanted to attend. People will see us together, he warned. There will be talk. There is already talk, more talk then, louder talk. She tied back her hair with her mother's silver cords. I want to go with you if you are willing to be seen with me, Fenna. He caught her hands. I am proud to be seen with you. I just want you to be prepared. I am prepared." She was not entirely prepared. Some people were kind. Thomas and Sarah greeted them warmly and introduced Fenna to other farmers with genuine friendliness. Old Garrett asked her if she played chess and seemed delighted when she said she did. A few others smiled and nodded politely, but there were stares, muttered comments. A woman pulled her child away when Fenna walked past. A merchant refused to sell her a hair ribbon until Vincent intervened coldly, at which point the merchant suddenly remembered his manners. "I am sorry," Vincent said quietly as they walked away. "Do not be. This is not your fault." Fenna kept her head high. "And there were more kind people than cruel ones. That is better than I expected. That is a low standard. It is a realistic one." They ate roasted corn and watched the dancing. Vincent did not ask her to dance. She appreciated that. Being stared at while standing still was one thing. Being the center of attention on a dance floor was another. But later, as the sun set and the music turned slower, he said, "There is a path by the river. It is quieter there. Would you like to walk?" They left the festival and followed the river path. The sound of music faded behind them, replaced by the soft rush of water and the evening songs of crickets. "My father proposed to my mother by this river," Vincent said. "He said he wanted to do it somewhere beautiful because she deserved beautiful things. That is sweet. He was a good man. I wish you could have met him." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "Fenna, I know it has only been a month. I know that is not very long, but I need you to know that this is not a passing thing for me. You are not a novelty or a rebellion against my family. You are." He trailed off, searching for words. "I am what?" she asked softly. "Everything I did not know I was looking for. You are strong and honest and sharp-minded. You call me on my nonsense. You make me laugh. You understand the work I do because you come from working people. You do not need me to rescue you, but you let me stand beside you anyway." He took a breath. "I am falling in love with you. I think I have been since the moment you decided to stay and take a chance." Fenna's heart felt too large for her chest. "Vincent, you do not have to say anything back. I just wanted you to know I want to be clear about what I am offering. Not just courtship, not just my home, but my heart if you want it." "You beautiful fool," she said, and pulled him down to kiss her. His arms came around her immediately, careful and sure at the same time. He kissed like he did everything else, with attention and intention and a gentleness that made her ache. When they finally pulled apart, she kept her hands on his face. "I am falling in love with you too. I think I started the day you offered me a choice. No one has ever done that before. Then I will keep doing it. Every day, every choice. We will make them together." "Together," she agreed and kissed him again. They returned to the festival hand in hand. People stared. Let them stare. Fenna did not care anymore. Vincent proposed properly 2 months later, not by the river. In the kitchen while they were making bread. "I have flour in my hair," Fenna said, laughing. "I know. You look beautiful anyway." He got down on one knee right there on the floorboards, heedless of the mess. "Fenna Greaves, will you marry me? Not because of a contract. Not because you have nowhere else to go, but because you want to, because you choose me the way I choose you." "Yes," she said, pulling him up and getting flour all over both of them. "Yes, you ridiculous man. Of course, yes." They married a month later in a simple ceremony by the river. Thomas and Sarah stood as witnesses. Garrett officiated, having once been licensed as a magistrate in his military days. Fenna's family made the long journey, and her father shook Vincent's hand gravely, saying, "You broke your family's word, but you kept your own. That speaks well of you." Margaret and Dominic did not attend. No one expected them to. Fenna wore the same blue dress she had worn to the marriage hall, but this time she added a crown of autumn flowers that Sarah had helped her weave. Vincent wore his best shirt and looked nervous and happy in equal measure. When Garrett pronounced them married, Vincent kissed her in front of everyone, and Fenna felt the last piece of uncertainty fall away. This was home. This was choice. This was love freely given and freely returned. They stayed at the farmhouse that first year. Vincent expanded the house, adding a larger bedroom and a proper workroom for Fenna. She took over managing the orchard while he focused on the grain fields. They worked well together, falling into rhythms that felt natural and right. The valley slowly accepted them. Some people never warmed to Fenna, but enough did that she felt part of the community rather than an outsider. She and Sarah became close friends. Garrett taught her chess and complained cheerfully when she started winning. Thomas asked her advice on his own orchard and actually took it. Spring came, and with it news that Catherine Hartwell had married a merchant from the eastern settlements. She sent Fenna a letter apologizing again for her unwitting part in the broken contract and wishing her happiness. Fenna wrote back with genuine warmth. News of Dominic came less pleasantly. He had attempted to break another contract and been hauled before the magistrate. The case had damaged his reputation significantly. Margaret had withdrawn from society. The family estate was struggling. "You feel vindicated?" Sarah asked one afternoon while they canned preserves together. "No," Fenna said honestly. "I feel sad for them. They chose pride over honor and they are paying for it. That is not satisfying, it is just sad. You are a better person than I would be. I am just tired of anger. I would rather focus on what I have than what they tried to take from me." What she had was a good life, a warm home, work that satisfied her, friends who cared for her, and Vincent, always Vincent, who looked at her each morning like she was the best thing that had ever happened to him. 2 years after their wedding, Fenna discovered she was pregnant. "Are you happy?" Vincent asked, his hand pressed to her still flat stomach. "Terrified," she admitted. "But yes, happy. Me too, both of those things." Their daughter was born in late autumn, small and squalling and perfect. She had Fenna's green skin and Vincent's gray eyes. They named her Area, and she had her father's stubbornness and her mother's laugh. Vincent proved to be a devoted father, patient and gentle and utterly besotted. Fenna watched him walk the floor with Area at midnight, singing old farming songs to soothe her, and felt her heart expand in ways she had not known possible. Sarah and Thomas brought gifts. Garrett carved a cradle with his own hands. Even some of the merchants in town who had been cool to Fenna softened when they saw the baby, unable to resist cooing over her small tusks and tiny pointed ears. When Area was 3 months old, Fenna's family made another journey to meet their granddaughter and niece. Her mother held the baby and cried, saying, "She is beautiful, you are happy, that is all I wanted for you." Her father pulled Vincent aside and they talked for a long time. Later Vincent told Fenna, "He said he forgives me for my family's dishonor, and he thanked me for giving you a choice." "You did more than give me a choice," Fenna said. "You gave me a life. We gave each other a life. That is how this works." They stood together in the doorway of their home, watching the sun set over the orchard, their daughter asleep in Fenna's arms. Behind them, the house was warm and full of the voices of family. Ahead of them stretched years of work and joy and the ordinary struggles of building a life together. "Are you content?" Vincent asked softly. Fenna leaned into his shoulder. "I am more than content. I am home." And that was the truth of it. Not the home she had expected when she traveled to the marriage hall all those years ago. Not the life she had planned. But the one she had chosen, moment by moment, day by day, with the man who had offered her the most precious gift anyone had ever given her. The freedom to choose, and the love to make that choice worthwhile. 3 years later, Fenna stood in the orchard with Arya on her hip and watched Vincent teaching their daughter the proper way to check an apple for ripeness. Arya listened with serious concentration, her small green fingers gentle on the fruit. "Like this, Papa?" she asked. "Exactly like that. You are a natural." Vincent kissed the top of her head, then looked up and met Fenna's eyes across the rows of trees. His smile was quiet and deep and utterly content. Fenna smiled back, shifting Arya's weight. Their daughter had grown strong and curious, endlessly asking questions about everything from why the sky changed colors to how seeds knew which way to grow. She had her father's patience and her mother's determination, and she was loved beyond measure. The valley had become truly home over the years. Fenna had her place in the community now, earned through work and kindness and simply being herself. People asked her advice on orchards. They invited her to gatherings. When a new family of orcs settled 2 valleys over, nervous and uncertain, Fenna and Vincent were the first to welcome them and help them find their footing. Sometimes Fenna thought about that day in the marriage hall, the humiliation and fear and uncertainty. It felt like a lifetime ago now, a different person's story, almost, because she never forgot the moment Vincent had stepped forward and offered her a choice. That moment had changed everything, had made everything possible. "Mama, come see," Arya called. "I picked a good one." Fenna walked through the orchard to her daughter and husband, the late afternoon sun warm on her green skin, and felt grateful for every choice that had led her here, for every hard moment that had taught her strength, for every act of courage that had built this life. But mostly she felt grateful for Vincent, who had seen her when others looked away, who had offered his hand and his heart without conditions, who loved her not despite who she was, but because of it. "It is perfect, sweetheart," Fenna said, admiring Arya's carefully selected apple. "Just perfect." Vincent wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her close. Arya chattered happily about apples and trees and could they make pie tonight, please? "What do you think?" Vincent murmured against Fenna's ear. Pie tonight, Fenna agreed. They walked back to the house together, the 3 of them, while the sun painted the valley gold and the evening birds sang their familiar songs. Behind them the orchard stretched rich and fruitful, the work of years made visible in heavy branches and careful tending. Ahead of them the house waited, warm and welcoming, full of the life they had built together. A life of shared work and shared joy. A life chosen freely and lived fully. Fenna looked at her family, her home, her life, and knew with absolute certainty that she had made the right choice. Not just that day in the marriage hall when she had agreed to stay, but every day since. Every morning she woke beside Vincent. Every evening they sat together after the work was done. Every moment they chose each other again. That was what made it real. Not the drama of that first day, but the quiet daily practice of love, the choosing over and over to build something beautiful together. They reached the house. Vincent opened the door. Arya ran ahead, already listing the ingredients they would need for pie. Fenna followed her daughter inside, Vincent's hand warm in hers, and let the door close behind them on another good day in a life full of them. This was what happiness looked like. Not perfect, not easy, but real and hard-won and worth every moment of struggle it had taken to find it. Outside, the valley settled into twilight. The orchard rustled in the evening breeze. And in the warm kitchen of a small farmhouse, a family made pie together and laughed and loved each other in the uncomplicated way that is actually the most complicated thing in the world. But they made it look easy. And that, Fenna thought as she rolled out dough while Arya carefully measured apples and Vincent started the oven, was the greatest magic of all. Not that love was simple, but that with the right person it was possible. More than possible, it was everything.